come back later, finish burning out these nests.
Upcoming post-apocalyptic zombie avoidance simulator, Days Gone, is due out in just under 2 months' time, and I was able to get my freak on with it at a recent press event where I played 3 hours of the game, starting from the very beginning. What follows then is a load of brand new gameplay and a bunch of information that I've learnt from playing the game, most of which I'm hoping will all be new news for you. So if you've been hyped for Days Gone for ages and want to know every last bit of info about it before release, or you just want to get a bit of an idea how the game is going to play because you're not sure about it yet, this video should have you covered. Okay, so, much like The Last of Us, the story of Days Gone starts off amidst the chaos of some kind of terrible outbreak. You don't really get to see any freakers, who are the game's infected enemies at this point. Instead, the action in the intro cutscene focuses on our hero, Deacon St. John, his wife Sarah, and their friend Boozer, who is a member of Deacon's biker gang. They're desperately trying to escape the city by hitching a ride on a Nero helicopter. And by hitching, I mean pointing a gun at people and shouting until they're allowed on board. Nero, by the way, is an acronym for National Emergency Response Organisation. It's kind of like a version of FEMA mixed with the NSA, so along with scientists, they also have access to some pretty big guns too. Unfortunately, things don't work out quite how our characters would have hoped, and Deacon and Boozer have to leave a badly wounded Sarah on the helicopter and make their own way out of town. Time jumps forwards 2 years for the next scene, and we see Deacon and Boozer mid-bike chase, bounty hunting a man named Leon. If you've been following the production of this game, you'll probably be familiar with this scene, as Game Informer released a gameplay video of it back in May. In this section, through dialogue between Deacon and Boozer, we learn that Sarah's helicopter ran into a bit of trouble as it left the city, and of course, Deacon now blames himself.
He's holed up! Move in!
What's interesting about the freaker outbreak in that first scene is that no one knows exactly how it happened, especially not you as the player. However, if you're really intent on getting to the bottom of how and why this terrible outbreak occurred, there's a storyline in here called World's End that you can follow, and if you explore the open world, you're going to find so many clues as to what actually happened. Most of this information is going to be found in and around Nero checkpoints that have been long abandoned, but they also have refugee camps and mass grave sites to search through too. There's even some old trains to discover which Nero used to haul in all the corpses from the cities for mass burial out in the wilderness. In these sites, you're going to be able to find all kinds of information about what happened as the world was ending, and about what research Nero were doing on the first infected subjects.
Oh, shit. Brothers, damn it!
You went up there again, didn't you? After I told you not to.
Eventually, you'll see that there's still Nero helicopters flying around in the open world too, and you can follow these and spy on them and learn all sorts of information. So basically, while the game doesn't spoon-feed them to you, there are a lot of answers out there for the player that wants to track them down.
Yeah, okay, here's a radio. Hey, goddammit, get back here with that! Oh, shit, that's mine! Shit. What?
On the subject of collectibles, I noticed in the menus that there were around 241 collectibles in the game, which were split across multiple categories. One of those categories is for Nero Intel. These are audio recordings that were made in the field, and these are what you'll need to look out for if you want to find out about the cause of the outbreak. There are plenty of other collectibles to look for too, of course, including lots of character and backstory specific items, like a stash map that you take from Leon after you confront him near the start of the game.
Hey.
Hey.
For an open-world game, Days Gone goes pretty heavy on scripted story and characterization. This means there are a lot of cutscenes, about 6 hours worth in total, we've been told, and a large portion of these take the form of flashbacks where we find out all about Deacon before the outbreak, and how he met and fell in love with Sarah. In one such cutscene that I saw, Deacon meets Sarah for the first time when he passes her trying to fix her broken car at the side of a dusty road. At one point, Deacon offers her a ride on his bike, and you are then given control of the camera, which you can move around the pair as they travel. Then, a little bit later on, Deacon has to protect Sarah from a bunch of scavengers who are trying to tear apart her car. This leads to a melee combat tutorial of sorts, and it ends with Deacon getting a little bit of a bloody nose. Apart from that, though, most of the cutscenes in the game aren't interactive, and you just have to sit back and watch events unfold.
Could you use a ride?
Yes, I could. Thank you for finally offering. I'm Sarah.
I'm Deacon.
Oh, well, sorry about the mess.
Once you've done that mission, though, you'll start to notice icons on the map that represent a continuation of the Sarah series of flashbacks. So, when you feel ready, you can travel to those, experience more flashbacks, and see where they happen in the storyline. In most games that feature zombie-like creatures, the enemies you'll be fighting will be twisted forms of adult humans. In Days Gone, these are called swarmers, and they're your generic monster type. However, there are also much younger freakers, adolescents called newts, who are much creepier yet far weaker than the swarmers. These pitiful freakers aren't going to be able to fight a fully grown swarmer, so they stay up on the rooftops out of the way and only really try to attack you if you're low on health or are surrounded by them. The way the newts avoid danger really plays in with the tone of the entire game, where this virus has affected everything from human beings to animals, and it's created something called a freakosystem, whereby every enemy type in the game will try to attack every other enemy type in the game. This is something the player can actually use to their advantage, because if you're clever enough, you can do things like weaponize swarmers by leading them into a marauder camp and then just letting events play out. This leads to the kind of open-world unpredictability that makes emergent games like Far Cry and Red Dead so much fun to play.
Oh, crap.
As I mentioned earlier, after the game's opening cutscenes, you get thrown straight into a bounty hunting mission where you have to track down a fella named Leon. Bounty hunting is hugely important in Days Gone, as it allows you to earn credits and trust at encampments, which you can then use for buying supplies and upgrades, or for fixing your bike. It's not just humans that have bounties on their heads though. You can also claim bounties for freakers if you kill them and then collect their ears, and you can turn those ears into credits back at a base. I noticed that there were 9 different types of freaker bounties available, a number which includes a few infected animals like runner wolves and rager bears, but this also left room for a couple of unannounced freaker types. I tried to find out what those freakers were, but was told that they're being left as surprises for the release of the game. So while I don't know what these freakers will be or how they'll behave, what we do know is that there are more freakers out there waiting to be discovered by anyone unlucky enough to bump into them.
Shit, someone's in the tunnel.
Now, one thing that's really confused people about Days Gone in the past was the bike retrieval mechanic and how you're supposed to go about getting your mechanical steed back to you if you end up losing it somewhere. It's not like in Red Dead where you can just whistle and it'll come trotting back to you, so I asked for some clarification, and it turns out there's a couple of mechanics that will allow the player to retrieve their bike in the event of an emergency. If you manage to somehow drive it into a lake or something like that and are close to the area where this happened, you'll be able to instantly retrieve your bike and it'll just appear right where your current position is. It's not the most realistic of mechanics, but the developer I spoke to told me that there has to be some flexibility in there as they don't want to punish players for daring to explore the world. Another way to retrieve your bike would be to go to one of the survivor encampments and pay the mechanic there to retrieve your bike for you. That way obviously costs credits though, and you'll also have to have a degree of trust at the camp in order for them to want to do that. So if you don't meet that criteria, the only other way to retrieve your bike in the game, if you've gone and left it somewhere, is to physically walk to its location, which could prove to be 1, a bit of a slog, and 2, a pretty dangerous pain in the arse. So basically, you probably want to avoid driving into lakes or forgetting where you parked it and then going on some kind of extended trek. Oh, and on a side note, your bike also has a health bar, which depletes if it takes damage from enemies or from doing things like falling a long distance. Deacon is able to patch up his bike if he needs to, but only if the bike isn't in water at the time, so make sure you're on dry land before attempting any repairs.
You like stabbing him in the back, huh? That right? You like this?
And finally, I've seen a couple of Days Gone videos on YouTube that state that a photo mode isn't going to be available in Days Gone right from the start, but that it may be due to be added in an update later down the line. However, when I played the game, there was a photo mode available from use as soon as you first take control of Deacon. Whether this is something that's been implemented in those 2 months in which the release of the game was delayed, I don't know. But fans of photo mode should be happy to know that they can snap away to their heart's content using a variety of frames, filters, and all the usual gubbins a good photo mode should have as soon as the game releases this April.
Here!
And there we go. Hopefully you've learned something new about Days Gone thanks to this video. If you did, please do give it a like and maybe even subscribe to Eurogamer for daily videos about video games. I'm going to head off on my motorbike now, but don't click away just yet because I'm going to leave you with some more brand new gameplay. Goodbye.
Damn it! Reload! Reload!
Attack the bastard! He killed him! Lost one! Down! Ha! No! You're gonna love this! Let's go! Do it! What do they got here? A map. Yes. I'm gonna go look around. Don't be afraid. I'm not gonna hurt you. Are you alone? Is there, anyone else with you? Oh, man. Okay, is this your room? It's really great. Are these yours?
No!
Lisa.
That's mine. This one's for gymnastics. I should have won first place, but Missy King, she cheated.
Lisa! Lisa, you hear the gunshots outside? It's not safe here.
I was
Now,
at school. And my mom called me and told me to come home right away and not stop, and they would be here waiting for me, and we would leave together, and I got here, and there was a note that said they left with some men, and I didn't know what to do, so I hid. I didn't know what to do.
It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. Lisa, not far from here, there's a camp. And you really ought to let me take you there. There are people there. There are people, I know them. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a work camp, and to eat, you have to work. Life is gonna be hard, but at least you ain't gonna starve.
No, my mom's coming here for me.
Okay, is this your mommy? Well, you said she didn't come home, right? So, maybe she's at the camp.
Mom is at the camp? She is. I know she is.
Okay. Stay close.